Good day, everyone. I am Ronald, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone to today's webinar that will be on FDA food safety and audit system documentation and record keeping. I want to introduce our presenter for today, Dr. John M. Ryan. Dr. John Ryan is the president of RyanSystems.com and holds a PhD in research and statistical methods. For more than 25 years, he has implemented quality control systems for international corporations in the United States and worldwide. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, John.
All right, thanks, Ronald. Thanks for attending today, everybody, and welcome. Some things on our agenda. The documentation system, policy, procedures, and records. Everything starts with policies. That comes from the top level. Audit check sheets. Okay, a lot of you are familiar with these, and these allow the development of audit trails. Now, I'll talk about audit a little bit. Audits are controversial to me, but they are what they are. Check sheets, record sign-in sheets, and documentation, other kinds of forms. Organic farm documentation, paper and electronic forms. Documentation systems for carriers. So a carrier is any way that food is moved in bins, tractors, trailers, trucks by rail or air. Okay, so they need to document everything they do, temperature and cleanliness, and what's in their trailers, etc. And then some of them, in some cases, some of you have looked at real-time electronic data systems, and those allow you to put the data in on the computer right away. Okay, we do have some laws involved, and they cover everything, of food or drink used by man or animals. Okay, you're familiar with FSMA, the Food Safety Modernization Act, passed in 2011 under Obama, probably one of the last big bills that were passed in his time in office. Let's talk about the system. Everything starts with a policy developed by your upper management. And from that policy, theoretically, the system includes procedures and then the documentation that proves whether or not you're following the procedures and the policy. The policy, for you upper management people, you have to have a policy that basically states that in a clear and simple way that you're committed to food safety. And these upper level officers are supposed to commit to an annual internal review. Here's an example. Organizational structure. The executive does the policy is that everyone is involved in this. Every operation, I don't care if they're purchasing, finance, or food safety and quality. It's not this food safety system. Okay, paperwork. Policies, procedures, sign-in sheets, and log. The danger is in the content. You better read it and be prepared to back it up. Don't just stick it in your binder. So let's talk about an audit for a minute. If you're involved in a recall, the FDA will take biological and chemical samples and will ignore any food safety certificates. The audit program is intended to assess a participant's efforts to minimize the risk of contamination by microbial pathogens. So there's some requirements for small farmers versus big farmers. There's no difference in the application of current food safety audit standards to small farms or processors as opposed to large farms and processors. So why are there so many different food safety audit standards? The lack of national or internationally accepted standards due to the lack of leadership, decision-making ability, and responsibilities. Different audits for different operations. There are a lot of different kinds. Everyone's theirs. Mine is best. Problems with food safety audits. It's an attempt to measure food safety. Can't do it. Real threats to food safety are of biological, chemical, or radiation nature, and you cannot see or detect these problems with a visual audit. There's no set audit standards. There are hundreds of different audit sheets in use. Okay, this is an important one for you to think about. Auditor repeatability and reliability are questionable. In other words, truth equals measurement plus error. The good things about audits, they push change, generally for the better. Special causes are removed by good management. Preparation system implementation time issues. This is the beginning of an actual audit. Type of records that you have to have. MSDS records for chemicals. Auditor checklist. There's some questions that the auditor is going to go through. Corrective actions. Compliance and continuous improvement are demonstrated through your corrective action records. Audits are usually annual. Manage the system. Here's ISO. First edition. This is International Food Safety Standards, okay? Requirements for any organization in the food supply chain. International ISO 2005. Phytosanitary certificates and inspection. What is 10+2 security filing? The Customs and Border Protection regulation that requires importers and vessel operating carriers to provide additional advanced trade data. Warehouse is the shipper, goes to a distribution party, retailer. There's a few notes on the new security filing data requirements. Okay, let's talk about processes and procedures for a minute. There has to be a set section in procedures: purpose, scope, responsibilities, and requirements, and the procedure. List the steps, flowchart the steps in order. Assign each process step an operation number. Using specifications, define defect possibilities and codes for each operation. Determine inspection data and collection points. Who will inspect and collect the data? Prepare inspection forms and practice inspection and data collection each step. Do not attempt to define process steps as miniature activities. Focus on major process steps first. Flowchart them. Let's look at flowchart symbols. This is an input-output symbol. Driver goes to the window. It's a process step. Vehicle pass, yes or no. And then you put in here what tells what happens. A pointer with an arrow just shows the flow of the process, right? And the connector is just something, a circle with a letter or a number in it, so that if you got to go to 2 pages or 3 pages, talk about traceability for just a minute. So you and they must be able to track back through their records all the way to the harvest bin. I just want to talk about blending logs for a minute. Final assembly or blend step, you track them all into that product right there. Now let's talk about logs, forms, and checklists. Farm level. If you're not farm level, make sure your supplier complies with reporting requirements. Food safety plan audit log. A little bit of a corrective action log. Traceback log. Now we come to the nitty gritty here. Recall information. Product, lot number, case, lot quantity, name, location, date, shipped, recall notification. Following information is to aid you when contacting people to recall your product. They're going to want to know how you're going to get it all back and what you're going to do to follow up to make sure you found the cause and you took corrective action. Below is a general outline for a standard operating procedure. Now this one has to do with your people, okay? A form to collect data on their injuries and illnesses. This is a big one, training logs. Here's a typical simple log for break area, a cleaning log. Rodent, pest, and rodent control logs. Almost all food operations have to have this. Thermometer calibration log. Refrigerated vehicle temperature monitoring. Okay, so the bottom line on all this stuff is the food safety and food quality have to be systematized, okay? Recommendations for foreign food producers. Testing requirements. Make sure you get a certificate of analysis as required by the specific market you ship to. Build your team, pick a process, list the steps, create your first flow chart, create your first inspection procedure, and then define and develop your logs, lists, etc. Okay, end of session. Okay, thank you. Hey folks, thanks for attending. I hope that helps a little bit. I know there's a lot to do, but as old man Deming, if you know who W. Edwards Deming was, what he would say is, if you don't know where to start somewhere, okay? Just get started. Once again, thanks for attending and see you at the next webinar. Adios.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. And that concludes the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now and have a great day ahead. Thank you.